Hey sketchy friends, so this was our venue for our May Urban Sketchers meetup in Johannesburg, and yeah, I hadn't heard of this place before, but it's called The View and it's in an area of Johannesburg called Parktown, and you can see the Telkom tower in the background there of the house, which is quite an iconic element of the Johannesburg skyline. So yeah, this place is the oldest house in Parktown, and it's one of the oldest houses in Johannesburg, and it's also the headquarters of the Scottish Transvaal Regiment. And it just so happened that they were doing a rehearsal on this morning when we went to sketch. They were doing a rehearsal for some kind of big Highlands style event that's going on the weekend after this. So it was really cool. It was a shame they weren't in their uniforms and things, but it was really cool to watch and hear them rehearse throughout the morning, different bands of bagpipes and drums, and there was just so many people. And yeah, it was just quite amazing, really. So I thought this scene was really cool. I love this old house, and especially with that Telkom tower in the background, just to really make it quite clear that we're in the city of Johannesburg. So I thought I'd go for a bit of a different approach with this one. I was being quite playful. I was kind of letting go of everything needing to look really, I don't know, not precise, because I never am precise, but I just totally let go, and I was like, I'm just going to play. And I really enjoy sort of starting with shapes first. It's definitely not something I do very often, but I am starting to do more of it, and I found myself doing a bit more of it when I was travelling in New Zealand as well. So I just thought it was quite a nice graphic way to get the house on the page. And also I've just kind of learnt that even if you don't get your shapes quite right, it doesn't really matter, because you can come over the top and refine with ink, and it just leads to quite a playful result, and you just don't have to, I don't know, just find it easier starting with shapes sometimes, and you don't have to really agonise over your lines quite so much. It's difficult to put into words, but it's quite a liberating way to start sketching. Although what I did realise is that I did start too far up on my page, and that meant that the Telkom tower that I really wanted to put in the background wasn't going to fit in regards to the correct proportion that I was seeing. So I do realise that in a minute, and I'll point out what I do to kind of rescue the situation. So I'm starting to put the tower in, and I thought I'd just put it in quite a loose sort of fun way. And then yeah, I realised that it's just not going to be right compared with the house. So I am using a water brush here. That's one of those brushes with the water in the handle. And I'm using a Stillman and Burn Alpha sketchbook, so it's not the heaviest paper in the world. So I put some water over what I'd painted just to see if I could lift it off the page, but I actually started to take some of the paper surface off, and I was like, ooh, okay, let's just stop doing that for a minute. But I was like, do you know what? I'm not going to stress. It's fine. I'll be able to rescue it somehow, even if it just does look a bit janky, for lack of a better term. It's going to be okay. And it's quite nice being at this stage where it's just like, actually, even if I make a mistake, it's really just no biggie. Like, we'll just see what happens. We'll see how we can rescue it, but I'm just not going to worry about it too much. So this is definitely not one of my neatest sketches in the world, but I have lots more fun when I'm being free like this and not stressing over things. So yeah, and it's really nice just slapping paint straight on the page and not having to draw for like half an hour or an hour or whatever before you get to the painting stage. So that's also quite fun. So if you haven't tried this method before, highly recommend it. You can try it from a photo, or if you want, get out on location and have a go too. But yeah, it's a really liberating way and a really fun way to get started with a sketch, basically mapping out all the painted shapes first. And then, as you'll see, I'll come and sort of draw over the top. I'm sorry about the lighting in this video. It's always one of the difficulties with sketching on location. This is the view, this is the vantage point I wanted to sketch from. And I didn't want to kind of have to change that. So I was doing my best to stay in the shade, but The sun obviously moves, so it's a bit challenging, but hopefully you can see what I'm doing okay. So I'm just using a black pencil. This is a Cretacolor Nero pencil, and just redrawing the Telcom Tower in the background. And I thought, well, let me just use a paint marker to do the blue bits, and in a way, I've somewhat kind of covered up the mistake that I made in the start. And it's kind of got a bit of a children's book kind of vibe to it. That's the style I'm really enjoying at the moment. I really like sketchers like Sarah Dyer. Illustrators, children's book illustrators such as Sarah Dyer and Sarah Van Dongen. And I've just noticed actually that Sarah has got a new course out on Domestika. So that is her third class on Domestika, which is amazing. So I only just noticed it the other day because it got advertised to me on Instagram. So if you're a fan of hers too, then do go check it out. I haven't actually taken it yet, but it is on my list for when I've got a bit of pocket money. So I thought it'd be fun just to kind of have a walk around with my camera and just have a look at what everyone else is doing. So Bernard was doing a nice collage of various different elements on his book there, and these guys are making some nice progress. I was having a good old chat about different materials and supplies. It's always a fun conversation to have with fellow urban sketchers. Margaret's doing some nice crisp graphic line work there, as always, beautiful sketches, and Deb's having some good fun here as well. And it was just such a beautiful morning, guys. Like really nice vibes. We had the bagpipes going. I was trying to stay a healthy distance from them because they were super loud. And yeah, everyone was just loving it. It was just like a really beautiful morning. So here's Stephen with his easel, and his sketch turned out really beautifully. I'll show a little montage right at the end of this video of everyone's sketches. His turned out really, really nice. Kathy, before this, she'd already done a sketch of the bagpipers in front of the house, which was super awesome. So this was her second sketch. And I realised as I was walking around that she was starting in the same way that I started mine, which was with the painted shapes. So that was quite interesting to see. And it was nice just to have a wander around and see what everyone was doing, because, you know, usually I'm all in my own world and I don't really sort of see... I see people's sketches at the end, but I don't really see like mid-process. So that was actually really nice to carve out a bit of time just to see what everyone was up to. Now I am adding lines on top of these shapes, and I'm not being too rigorous about what I'm seeing. I'm really trying to be quite interpretive. This is the main way that you're going to get a sketch done in 2 hours or so, especially a bigger sketch, is not to get too crazy on the details and just to sort of loosen up and be a bit more interpretive. So I'm using a Lamy Safari fountain pen on top of the watercolour shapes that I put down. And as you saw, I pretty much just used my water brush for the initial shapes. I do think I switched to my Escoda brush to do the foliage and stuff, because you just get stronger colours. I find I can't really lay down like really strong, vibrant colours with the water brush. But I love the water brush for like super convenience, like quick sketches, and especially people sketches as well. I'm really enjoying putting shapes down with the water brush and then drawing on top to do nice quick people sketches. And I sort of show that technique in one of my videos from a few weeks ago, maybe like last month or so. I'll link it in the corner here if you want to look at that. But I discovered that that was a really great strategy for me, and it's really helped my people sketching skills improve, and my overall desire to sketch people as well, now that I've found a kind of technique that works for me. So I'm jumping between things here, but I've got a Pitt Artist pen, a Faber-Castell Pitt Artist pen, just to fill in some of the grey windows of the building in the background there. I haven't quite got things quite where they should be, but again, I'm just not too fussed. I'm getting the overall feeling of the scene, and if things aren't quite lining up as they should, or in quite the right perspective in terms of the foliage and the hedgerows in front of the house, I'm just not too fussed. I am just letting go and just having fun with this one. So now I did have a black brush pen out there just to fill in some of the windows. Oh, sorry, I've still got a Pitt Artist pen, but I think I changed my mind in a minute and I go to use my Pentel brush pen instead, just to put black in. I didn't really feel like the dark grey was punchy enough for me. So yeah, here we go now. I've switched to the black brush pen. Don't always do windows with black brush pen, but it is quite a fun way to add windows in, and it always just looks really cool. It also works really nicely if you fill the whole shape in black and then draw in window frames with a white gel pen or a white paint marker on top. That's always nice. I didn't feel like the roof was just red enough. I wanted to pump up the volume on that colour a little more, so I just went in with another more vibrant shade of colour there. I've realised that I took out a colour before I went to New Zealand called English Red out of my set and replaced it with some other things, and I just didn't realise how much I missed that colour, so I was really annoyed that I forgot to put it back in my set for this sketch meeting, because when I got here I was like, damn, that's actually the colour that I really want. So I still haven't put that colour back. I really need to do that before next sketch session, because I think I've decided I really like that colour. Now I'm just grabbing a watercolour pencil and I'm just being super playful here, being super scribbly, just trying to get some texture into that hedge in the front there. And now I've grabbed my kids' paint markers, not my children, I don't have any, but paint markers that are made for children. I've grabbed those and I'm just putting in some of these beautiful roses in the foreground, but I'm just doing splodges, I'm not doing anything crazy there. And just trying to draw in some of the branches, just adding in some nice basic foreground details like that can really help bring the sketch to life. And I thought, let me put a bit of indigo down on the ground just to show a bit of shadow and a bit of different colour variation in the ground there. And I ummed and ahed about putting blue in the sky for a while. I knew I didn't really want to fill up the whole page with it, so I did put it in the end, and I do think it adds that extra bit of colour just to make the sketch super vibrant. Unfortunately, my paint water was quite green, and so that does show in the sky. You might not be able to see it on the footage so well here, but when I was painting it, I was like, oh my God, my water is so dirty, and so my sky is not the nicest shade of blue, especially over on the left-hand side, but that's fine. But you can see how it's somewhat disguised the error with the telecom tower as well. It's a bit more obvious in real life, but on the footage, you can't see it quite so well, but adding that sky in has kind of detracted from the bit of the mess that the telecom tower left when I first tried to paint it in. Here, I'm just trying to add in some subtle shadows. It was quite, as you can see, a very sunny day, and there was a lot of strong shadows going on. So I just wanted to kind of put those in carefully. So again, just using a bit of indigo and a bit of brown just to warm up that indigo. And now I'm just adding the word Telcom on the Telcom tower with a white gel pen. And that's it, really. That's pretty much it. And this one didn't take me too long at all, and that's why I got to walk around and have a nice chat with everyone and see what they were doing. So that was cool. So it was a really cool turnout, this particular venue. It was really nice to see so many people out. I think it helped that the weather was really nice as well. We are coming into to winter now, so it is a little crisper outside, but nice sunny day nonetheless. Don't forget, guys, we are holding the first ever official Urban Sketchers event in Africa. It will be held in Johannesburg in September. It's our little mini symposium held over 2 days. There's about 10 of us hosting workshops, and it's just going to be really awesome. So if you are in the Johannesburg area, or South Africa really, it's not too bad to travel to Johannesburg. If you live anywhere close by, or if you want to make the journey, please do come over to see us September 9th and 10th in Johannesburg. I'll leave a link in the video description below. And just quickly before we go, I just want to end on this little montage of people's sketches. I think these are all the ones that were shared on our group, so I'm probably missing a few here, but these were the ones that I had access to. So as you can see, some really beautiful sketches, a really fun morning. If you haven't joined in your local urban sketching chapter yet, please do. It's the best thing that I ever did when I moved to Johannesburg, is join Urban Sketchers, and I've just met loads of awesome people, and I've got to explore lots of awesome parts of Johannesburg purely because of this group. So I encourage you to look up your local chapter, and I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.